Okay, my name is Jeremiah Christopher from Educare, Tanzania. I'm here today in front of you to discuss our topic which concern about the population and the development. In the last session, we have been discussing about the rural-urban migration. But today now, we are going to see urban-rural migration. Okay, let us now begin with the definition of urban-rural migration. Is a migration in which people move from urban area to rural area. This is vice versa of rural to urban. Because rural to urban, people tend to migrate from rural up to urban. Now here, urban to rural, here is where people tend to migrate from urban to rural areas. It is rare in Africa, but now common in the developed country where many people like staying in the countryside within the suburbanized village. When you say it is rare, means that in Africa, many people tend to migrate from urban up to rural areas, but common in the developed country. In the developed country, many people tend to migrate from urban to the rural areas. People go to rural area to avoid air or noise pollution in the urban center. There are the different reasons that make people to migrate from urban to rural. Among the factors that make people to migrate from urban to rural, it is like to avoid air noise. As we know that in the urban areas there is heavy industries which produce noise. There is availabilities of vehicles which produce noise to the people. Hence, make them to migrate to the rural areas for searching of safe area to live for their lives. Another point is, other people go back to rural area after retirement since they find it difficult to cope with the vagaries of the urban life. As we know that there are people who live in urban for job. After retirement, they tend to migrate to rural area to continue with their life. So those employed people, after retirement, they tend to migrate up to the rural area to continue with their lives. Unskilled people from rural area can find it difficult to secure a job in town, hence can decide to return to rural areas. As we know that in the towns and the cities area, many jobs that found at that area, for example at the industry, there is needed of those people who have their skills. So those who have no any kind of skill, they tend to live the hard life in the towns. Hence they tend to migrate to the rural area to engage into different activities like agriculture. So those people who have no any kind of skill, unskilled people who are unskilled people, they tend to move to live in the rural area so as to continue to live. So when they tend to move to live in the rural areas, they will engage into different activities like agriculture and pastoralism and etc. Also, in the developed countries, people are encouraged to go to rural area by the supply of necessary social and economic amenities which are also available in town. So in the developed country, people are encouraged to go rural area by the supplying of necessary social service. Others tend to go to the rural area for the purpose of supplying those social services like water, electricity, housing, and etc. The government can encourage or force people to go to the rural area to open up the potential land lane or to solve the problem of population pressure in towns. Also, here the government can also play the great roles for the urban to rural migration to take place due to the fact that they tend to force people to go to rural area to open up the potential land lane. So after being forced to go to the rural area by the government, they make them to go to those areas that is potential land. This potential land have the different advantages since through the land they will able to practice the different economic activities like agriculture and etc. Also, the government tend to force them to go to the rural areas in order to solve the problem of population pressure in town. Another reason for the government to force people to migrate into the rural area is due to maintain the balance of population. So they tend to force people to move to the rural area in order to avoid the occurrence of population pressure. Also, the outbreak of terrible and morbid disease in town like meningitis, cholera, and AIDS can force people to rural area. Also, as you know that due to the population pressure impact, there is different impact that related to the population pressure in town, like the spread of disease like HIV due to the large number of prostitutes and etc. So through the presence of these diseases in town tend to force people to migrate up to rural area to save their lives. So another reason that make people to migrate from urban to rural is to escape from the dangerous diseases like AIDS and etc. Also, another is lack of safety due to vandalism or hooliganism and burglary, as well as frequent conflict and social tension can force people to run away from urban area to rural area. As due to the impact of population pressure in towns, there is the existence of different misunderstandings. So people tend to migrate in order to avoid those kind of misunderstanding. Another point is lack of space to locate interest and the other large-scale economic sectors can lead to urban rural migration since there is indeed large space. As you know that if somebody or a country general or any company if want to establish the industry, as you know that there are different factors that lead to the locations of industry, the area that will produce raw material, the large area for construct that kind of industry. As you know that industry require a large space, so in town there is no enough space for establishing industry due to the high population pressure. So through these reasons they tend people to migrate up to the rural areas in order to establish the industry, whereby in rural areas we know that in rural areas there is a large space. So that is another point or reasons that make urban rural migration to take place. Let's just after finishing to see those reasons or driving forces that lead to the occurrence of urban to rural migration. Let us now see what are those outcomes or problems which can be caused by urban rural migration. Now here we are going to see problems that will be happen after urban rural migration to take place. The first point is outbreak of conflict with the old residents because of encroaching into their pieces of land or land privatization. So if people tend to migrate to the rural areas, those who are migrating to the rural areas automatically they will need the area for the settlement. For instance, there are those who are migrating from urban to rural for establishing the industry in the rural area. So, and as you know that you go not to establish the industry, you need the space. So through that will rise the land conflict with those people who are living at the rural, especially those who are in old age. Another point is the rise in the house prices and hence leading to the problem of housing. Also, another problem that is related to the urban-rural migration is the price of house will rise, and that will result as occurrence of problem of housing in rural area. More traffic congestion in the rural area, which can cause a problem of delay. As we know that if people migrate from urban to rural, the population to be increased in the rural area, and hence the occurrence of different things or obstacles like traffic congestion. So traffic congestion will occur and act as a problem due to the people who are migrating from urban to rural areas. Another point is land degradation, like soil erosion as well as deforestation can occur. Land degradation is that situation whereby the soil loses those special nutrients and those nutrients that are required for large amount in order to support the plant growth due to the impact of soil erosion. As we know that if the population of people is large in a certain area, automatically due to those different activities that they practice there, they will result in the occurrence of soil erosion as well as deforestation. As we know that, for example, as I said earlier, if they want to establish the industry, automatically they will practice deforestation in order to find the space for construction the industry. So this is among the problems that will be resulted to the urban rural migration if take place. Land degradation like soil erosion as well as deforestation can occur. Another problem is the interference with culture in the rural area leading to the moral deterioration. As we know that after those people who are migrating from urban up to rural, they will come with their cultural beliefs. So when they interact with those who are living at the rural, they will tend to distract the culture of those who are found in rural. Hence, there is occurrence of moral deterioration. So through the coming of those people who are migrating from rural urban up to rural, they resulted to the occurrence of moral deterioration. Since automatically here, if they tend to combine with those people who are found in rural area, they will tend to deteriorate the culture of those who are living in the rural area. Another impact is decline in agriculture activities, since most of the arable land turn into the residential area and the industrial center. As we know that many people who are living in the rural area, the main activities that they practice there is agriculture. So when the people migrate from urban up to rural, for example, for those who are coming for the reason of establishing the industry, they will take the large areas. You know that when you want to establish the industry, it needs a large area. So if they take the large area, automatically the agriculture activities will tend to decline, because as we know that agriculture needs the land in order to practice it. So the coming of those people who want to establish the that kind of economic activities, which is industry, they will distract agriculture automatically, and hence decline in agriculture activities will take place in the rural area. Another problem that is related to the occurrence of urban rural migration is increase in population, like air pollution, noise pollution, and the water pollution. Increase in pollution. Pollution can be categorized in two different ways. You can look and able to talk in the pollution in two different ways. Like in air pollution will take place since the number of vehicles will increase in rural area. Also noise pollution due to those industries that will be established into the rural area. And the water pollution, water automatically be contaminated with those chemicals and oil that is found from the industries. So the coming of people from urban to rural, they will cause the occurrence of pollution in air pollution, noise pollution, and the water pollution in general. Another impact of urban rural migration is increase of crimes and other vices which are common in urban areas. As we know that the number of crimes in the town area is larger compared to the number of crimes that are found in rural areas. So when those who are coming from urban, they will come with their behaviors like crimes, and the crimes actions will take place for rural area. Hence, people coming from town will increase there at the rural, and hence the others will able to engage in crimes activities. So through the comings of urban people, the number of crimes will increase into the rural area. Those are the problems of urban-rural migration. Okay, let us now see what is the advantage of urban-rural migration. After finishing to look those problems that related to urban-rural migration, okay, let's now see what are those advantages, what is the pros of occurrence of urban-rural migration. The first one, it can stimulate utilization of resources in the rural areas. People can provide labor to work on the land lying idle, like in the refugee basin, exploiting mineral and etc. Here, after the people to migrate from urban to rural, those resources like minerals and those are found that in the refugee basins, they tend to be exploited and well utilized by those people who are coming from urban areas. So when the people come from urban to rural, automatically the utilization of resources will be stimulated in the rural areas. Those kind of resources like those minerals, forests, and etc. So the utilization of resources will take place after urban-rural migration to occur. Another advantage of urban-rural migration is it reduces population pressure in town and leads to the environmental improvement, hygienic conditions. This is another advantage of urban-rural migration. The population of town or urban area will tend to decrease due to the fact that many people migrate to the rural areas. So as we know that if the population will be controlled, even the environment also will be improved in the conditions, since the environment will be kept safety for supporting the life of people who are living at the town areas. So the occurrence of urban-rural migration, it will play a great role to reduce population pressure in town areas. Another advantage of urban-rural migration is reduce the problems of beggars in urban centers. As we know that in town areas or urban areas, there is a large number of beggars and those who seek children. So after the migration to take place, automatically the numbers of those beggars will decrease, since many beggars will go to the rural area for another life. So beggars automatically will decrease in number. Another advantage of urban-rural migration is it facilitates a general economic development in rural area and reduce the economic gap between rural and urban area. For example, as I said earlier, that those people who are coming from urban, they will come with their skills and knowledge, and hence when they come to rural areas, they will want to start the different economic sectors like agriculture. So they come up with their skills and the knowledge in establishing those kind of activities like industry. So through that establishing of industry activities will act as the driving force for the development of that area. So the economic gap between rural and urban areas will be going to be balanced, since those who are coming with their skills, they will act as a driving force for the development to take place in the rural area. So through the process of those who are coming from urban, automatically the gap between the rural area and the urban area is going to be balanced. Okay, after finishing urban-rural migration, let us now see rural migration. This is a movement of people from one village to another. Here the person tends to move from one village to another village. One shift to another village which is more economically advanced, more peaceful, to avoid witchcraft, running away from enemies, or to follow his or her relatives. As we say that the rural to rural migration means that a person or people tend to move from one village to another. This is the village migration. There are the different reasons that make those people to move from village to village. Those kind of reasons is like they want to searching for peaceful, to avoid witchcraft. This is as a kind of bad cultural practice that will be practiced as a certain village. So this through the witchcraft also will act as a driving force to force them to move to the other village. Another is running away from enemies. They tend to run from enemies or follow his or her relatives. So people will migrate from one village to another for the purpose of following their relatives. Okay, let's see now urban migration. It is a movement of people or persons from one town, normally less developed, another town which is normally more in the developed country. Urban to urban migration, as we know that this takes place more to those countries that is developed. Here, the person tend to move from one town up to another town for the different reasons. For example, one can move from Tanga to Arusha, Morogoro to Dar es Salaam. Those are the kinds of regions that developed in the different sectors like infrastructure and etc. So the person can able to move from Tanga to Arusha for searching the activities. Another, after finishing to see those urban to urban migration, rural to rural migration, okay, let us now see the consequences or impact or effect of migration. The consequences of migration can be either negative or positive or both. As we know that migration refers to the kind of movement from one place to another. Those people who are migrating from one place to another, they tend to the related of those kind of the consequences. And those consequences divided into two parts. There will be either negative or positive or both. Okay. Let us now see what are the negative consequences or impact of that kind of migration taking place. For example, the first point is the population of people living, or the people who cannot produce at all, and hence labor shortage occur and the population structure is affected. If the person moves to the other place, the resident area automatically will remain with the shortage of labor, and hence population structure also will be affected. Since the number of age group will be able to decrease, hence the population structure is going to be affected by that kind of migration. Another, decline in the production process, since the resources are not utilized full due to the shortage of labor following the exodus of young and energetic people. Those people who have skills and knowledge tend to move to the towns areas. The areas that people remain behind, they don't have any kind of technology. So they don't have even the technology to utilize those resources that is available at the rural areas like minerals and etc. Another is the poor food supply and hence the deterioration of health. Due to the decline in agriculture, automatically food will be poorly supplied and hence health will be deteriorated. Another point is there is an increase in poverty in the source of region, especially rural areas. This is another impact or consequences of migration. There are occurrence of poverty. As you know, that the state of being poor will take place because different sectors that produce either food, for example, in agriculture is declined due to the shortage of laborers at that area, and hence poverty will take place. And this automatically occur in the rural areas where there is no people who remain to act as a labor force for engaging in economic activities like agriculture. So the migration will result to the occurrence of poverty, especially in the rural areas. Okay, after finishing to see those consequences, okay, let's now see manpower mobilization in Tanzania. Manpower mobilization in Tanzania. As we know that manpower mobilization is among the driving force for any economic development taking place at any country. As we know that you can't separate population from development. The two different things that go perpendicular. Okay, let us now see the manpower mobilization. Manpower mobilization is the process of organizing or gathering people together so that they can use their potential and their skills in doing different development activities in the country or certain community. Manpower mobilization means that you are going to organize people who have the different kind of skill. You tend to organize them together in order to fulfill their demands. And those people who are organized in manpower mobilization, they have the same ideas or they have the same goals. So manpower mobilization is the process of organizing. Here you're going to organize those people who have different skills, or gathering people together, or to gather them together so that they can use their potential. They can use their potential and their skills. They can use their potential and their skills. After being gathering together, they tend to use their potentials and the skills in doing the different development activities in the country or certain community. For example, if they want to engage in industry activities, industry sector need both skilled and unskilled labor. So those people who have the skilled concern about the industry, they tend to be organized together and to run the industrial sector. So people of different skills and knowledge tend to become together as one in order to drive the economy of the certain place or country. And even this taking place in our country of Tanzania, that was conducted by late Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. So let us now see, why do we need to mobilize manpower? Why do we need to mobilize manpower? Here we're going to see the reasons why. How do we need to mobilize manpower? Here we're going to see those reasons or factors that really to make those peoples who have the different skills and knowledge. We are going to look the reason to make those people who are, why we organized and why we gather them together in order to fulfill the certain goals. The first point, why do we need to mobilize manpower, is to be able to utilize the resources sustainably in order to avoid exhaustion or distraction. Here we are going to do manpower mobilization for the purpose of utilize the resources that is available at the certain place. For example, forests and minerals, but in sustainable way. There is no exhaustion or distraction of it. So that is among the reasons why do we need to mobilize power. Another reason why do we need to mobilize manpower is to improve efficiency in the production process. As I said earlier, that manpower mobilization, people of different skills and knowledge tend to be organized and gathered together for the purpose of running the economy. So they tend to organize those people together for the purpose of to improve efficiency in the production process. For example, the production can able to take place into the different sessions, like in agriculture and in industry. So they tend to be organized in order to improve the efficiency in the production process. Okay, another reasons why do we need to mobilize power is to facilitate the process of combating environmental problems by encouraging the adoption of environmental conservation measures. Also, there are the different reasons that make people to mobilize power, like even to conserve the environment. They will provide educations, they will provide skills and knowledge to the people on how we can practice the well-organized agriculture in order to save the environment. For example, the use of terracing methods. This is through the use of this terracing method in agriculture will avoid the occurrence of soil erosion. So through that we will be able to combat the problem of environment. Also, by practicing overgrazing, you keep the small number compared to the available land. You are going to practice Okay. After discussing about the manpower mobilization, we looked at the definition of manpower mobilization. Also, we have been looking about those kind of strategies. Also, we have been looking at those advantage of manpower mobilization. But here there is questions that need you as a student to explain the importance of manpower mobilization.